Hey guys, welcome back to another GamerDad channel. My name is Austin, and today we actually are back with a re-recording of a video that I recorded a while back while I was a bit loopy and just had a couple of teeth pulled. And so I'm going back and I'm re-recording. I am gonna leave the original still up just because I really don't take videos down unless it's, specific reasons. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. What if Vegeta turned good early? Our story here is going to start during the Saiyan saga, and the first major difference is going to be when Goku uses the Kaioken and basically breaks Nappa in half. Vegeta will realize that Goku's power basically doubled. He still can't sense power. I'm not implying that he can just sense power early as heck, but it's, you know, easy to see. If you're actually watching the fight, you can see somebody suddenly just double or triple in speed and strength. It's not something you can just not notice. Um, and whenever Goku just tosses Nappa over, Vegeta would, instead of just tossing him up in the air and blowing him up, would just help him up and tell him to catch his breath, take a few minutes, or not really a few minutes, but a minute or two. He'll hold Kakarot off, and when he's able to create a power ball so that so that they can both transform, and they'll be able to just knock this fight out no problem. Goku still insists on going off to a nearby wasteland, and Vegeta, still being extremely arrogant, is just absolutely willing to follow him. Gohan and Krillin are just uncomfortable staying around Nappa, and so they opt to follow Goku and Vegeta. Nappa just sits back, recovers his energy for a minute, gets ready to make a power ball, and when he's able to, he finally does. However, over at the wasteland, with the fight between Goku and Vegeta, it goes more or less per canon up until the beam struggle, where Vegeta, instead of charging a Gallic gun and actually getting ready to fire it at Goku and doing his whole "I'll destroy the planet" speech, he looks over, sees Nappa transforming, and starts flying off over that way so that he will be able to transform as well. Goku doesn't initially see the giant ape and just sees Vegeta flying off over that way, thinks, oh, he's going after Gohan and Krillin. Starts to kind of head that way, sees the giant ape, starts wondering what the heck's going on. Uses Kaioken times 3 to try to catch up with Vegeta. As he's about to catch up with Vegeta, however, a giant beam just comes flying out of nowhere right in front of him, almost hits him. He's barely able to avoid it, however, and looks around trying to find Nappa because, again, still doesn't realize that Nappa's a giant ape. Um, However, it starts to dawn on him what's going on as Vegeta is now gotten close enough to the Power Ball to actually start transforming himself. And so now everything's kind of starts hitting him, starts realizing that he's the one that you know transformed and killed his granddad, and realizes that his whole race can transform and everything. And so as he's sitting here and kind of having all these realizations and whatnot, Nappa just absolutely smacks him, and he just goes flying into a nearby plateau. Vegeta finishes transforming, tells Nappa don't be careless. Kakarot can increase power several times over. He's really not sure what extent Goku can do that. He doesn't realize, Goku can't do it anywhere near as much as even the equivalent of them going Ozaru. But, for all he knows, it could be, 100 times over or something. Let's see. Goku is injured, but not so heavily that he can't move around or anything, and so he's able to position himself under the rubble with his arms up in the air and starts gathering energy for the Spirit Bomb. Gohan and Krillin are still in the area, staying out of sight, but they feel Goku slowly charging up his power again. Nappa and Vegeta start to move towards the rubble, where Goku's, at this point hiding, not really laying. um, Gohan, fueled by his anger and absolutely just not listening to Krillin whatsoever, launches his most powerful blast that he can right into Nappa's face. And it's not enough to damage Nappa by any means, but the blast and the smoke are enough to temporarily blind Nappa, like noticeably worse than a solar flare, because the blast is basically a solar flare. Then you've got, the smoke, the ash, and everything else from, you know, the blast and the explosion. I mean, come on. Vegeta's absolutely annoyed, finds it funny though that Gohan just was able to blind Nappa. Um, and while he's laughing, Gohan just launches another blast over at Vegeta's face. This one actually somehow more powerful. Uh, it's still, however, not nearly enough to face Vegeta because he's, like what in Great Ape he's about 4.5 times Nappa's strength. And that's if Nappa's not weakened because of his injuries and the fact that he's the one that created Powerball. Probably 5 or 6 times Nappa's strength. I mean, it's ridiculous here. Blast nowhere near strong enough to phase Vegeta at all. However, he does notice the increase in power. He also thinks he saw a slight change in Gohan's appearance. Not talking about Super Saiyan here, don't worry. Talking about Ikari. However, due to the size difference, he really couldn't tell. It was, just a little bit of poof in the hair, a little bit of eye color change, I guess. He's about to say something to taunt little Gohan, let him know that him, his father, the whole planet will be doomed when suddenly he feels a sharp pain in his back. Krillin managed to sneak around while he was distracted and throw a Destructo Disc at the silly Great Ape's tail. Excuse me. And out of just absolute sheer rage, Vegeta does manage to charge Blast and return fire on Krillin, just absolutely wiping him out instantly. Another major change in our story here. And upon seeing Vegeta return to normal, Nappa smacks Gohan away, and even with his rage boost, Gohan's nowhere near strong enough to stand up to Nappa. Sure, even if we were to say full Ikari transformation, 10 times boost, Nappa still has 10 times boost, so he was already stronger to begin with. I'm sorry, Gohan is outweighed here. And so Nappa is still way stronger. He looks down at Vegeta, asks if Vegeta's okay. Vegeta's pissed off, like severely. But he is still a very calculating, very strategic person. And so he tells Nappa that Gohan shouldn't be a problem, that Krillin's already, no longer an issue whatsoever, and to focus on Kakarot. And so they both turn their attention back to the giant pile of rubble and see that Goku is not buried anymore. He's instead standing on top of it with his hands stuck up in the air. And Nappa immediately starts laughing. And Goku forms, as he did in the Saiyan saga, because I'm not going to use any other version's Spirit Bomb other than the initial Saiyan sagas, does the little coloration around his body and whatnot, forms the energy together into the little tiny handheld Spirit Bomb. And Nappa just absolutely is laughing like crazy because he sees just this tiny little ball of energy. And as Goku throws it at him, Nappa just stands there in his absolute blind arrogance, starting getting ready to tank it. Vegeta's over there just laughing about the whole thing. And so Nappa standing there getting ready to tank the blast. Suddenly he feels a sharp pain in his back. Yajirobe, in just this absolute mad lad dash, has just ran onto the battlefield, managed to sprint up behind Nappa, jump up, slice through his tail with this sword that still nobody has been able to explain where he got that thing. Like, it's done just feats that nothing else on Earth has been able to do other than the androids. And I'm still certain that Dr. Gero was an alien. Rant aside, um, sorry. Nappa starts detransforming. Spirit Bomb hits him square in the chest. Blast starts consuming his ever shrinking little power level. Manages to survive, but he's just sent flying. He's out cold, and Vegeta is just left there in awe of all the power on display. Assumes that Nappa is just gone because he doesn't even see the body anywhere. Gets really angry about it, but ultimately he sees Nappa as a weakling for allowing this to happen. Goku and Vegeta go back to having a similar battle, but severely toned down because they're both injured now. Um, and so it leads to a beam struggle similar to the iconic one in canon, but you've got Vegeta over there maxing out at a much weaker Gallic gun. Goku is still able to win it at like Kaioken times 2. And so Vegeta gets launched up in the air, and we get our next major difference in the storyline here, where instead of charging back in to keep fighting, he's going to instead decide that all of this is just beneath him. Ultimately, what's going to make Vegeta turn good earlier here in the story is that instead of his pride really making him want to go and keep fighting a losing battle just to show that he's not scared of somebody, that he's not scared of a battle, he's going to instead say that, I can't win this battle, I've got to walk away, that, I have no reason to struggle to win these types of things, that, it's just beneath me. I'm too good for it. So he calls a spaceship up to the upper atmosphere, he gets in, and if he flies off over to Frieza planet, insert random number here to get in a healing pod. Goku and Gohan, however, meet up, take Nappa over to the hospital, do whatever Dragon Ball does with the bodies. We never cover the bodies ever in Dragon Ball. They're just left out in the middle of a field somewhere, and then when the dragon wishes them back, they just show up with a new body. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, Goku and Gohan are nowhere near as injured as in canon. Like, they both receive about the injuries that I think Krillin did in canon. Krillin, of course, got the worst end of the stick here. Really, Nappa is about the condition where Goku was in canon, needing to be in like a full body cast. But Goku and Gohan meet up with Bulma, Roshi, Yajirobe. The group decides they need to find a way to Namek. They did hear about Piccolo being a Namekian, and eventually they come up with the same idea to head off to Namek. Goku does ask for a way to do gravity training on the way, and so Bulma and Dr. Brees end up creating the gravity ship the same way that Dr. Brees did in canon. However, with both of them working on it, they managed to finish it a bit sooner, and so I'm going to just go out and say that with the time that they'll be able to leave, they will end up arriving at Namek the same time that Gohan, Krillin, and Bulma did in canon, but instead it'll be Goku and Gohan in the gravity ship, and Bulma, of course, because she's the one that needs to be there to fly. Let's see. So, like I say, that might have been somewhat confusing. I don't really know. But hopefully somebody followed all that and can explain it in the comments for anybody that really didn't follow me. But before they leave, the group does confront and question Nappa. He's completely loyal to Vegeta and to a lesser extent Frieza. It's never really explained like how loyal Nappa is to Frieza, but I'm gonna say that to somewhat of an extent he is, because they didn't like outright know that Frieza blew up the Saiyans. And so because of that, Goku and Gohan are extremely skeptical to trust him. They do, however, take him to a Capsule Court hospital instead of the just regular civilian hospital while the ship's being built. And after like a day or two, he did regain consciousness. They questioned him about Vegeta, their motives, and he just keeps basically calling Goku a low class Saiyan, keeps calling Gohan a half breed, keeps telling him to leave him alone. And after a couple days of this, they just decide on a different approach. And so they tell him that his ship's been salvaged for parts, that he doesn't even have a way off the planet, that he has no chance of leaving unless he just says something, he spills the beans and tells him at least, something about Vegeta and why they came to Earth. And so he finally gives them the whole rundown about Frieza, why they came to Earth, why they wanted to recruit Kakarot, tells them they even, though they beat the three Saiyans, came to Earth, that they're still nothing compared to Frieza. And that's why they wanted the Dragon Balls. So Goku tells him that when he killed Piccolo, that he made sure Dragon Balls were no longer an option on Earth, but that Nappa himself had given them a lead to go basically where to go and look for more. And so Goku tells Nappa that they'll bring him along just because they don't want him to cause any trouble on Earth, and kind of as a space guide in case they have any kind of trouble. And so they withhold any information about the senzu beans, any way of him getting any kind of faster healing, make him think that, you're just going to be stuck in this hospital bed for like a month. And they aren't sure if they can trust him at all still. But finally, the day comes around for them to head to Namek, and when Goku and Gohan, oh my god, Goku and Gohan are given a tour of the ship, they agree that it'd really be best for Nappa to be up to full strength, because otherwise, when they go to try to train, he's just going to be an absolute burden. He's going to be in the way, and the area of the ship that isn't affected by gravity is never really shown on the show, so I'm just going to assume that it's like that little kitchen dining area or whatever that we saw Goku go up to the fridge in. And Bulma is just refusing, absolutely refusing to be stuck in that little bitty area with him. And so most of the ship has a gravity feature, and so just, for sheer convenience, they need to have him up to full strength. Bulma hears this, screams that, there's just absolutely no way. So they retrieve Nappa from his room, give him a sensu, sees an absolute, minor Zenkai, I'm going to say from like 4,000 to 6,000. But for Goku and Gohan, this is very valuable information. See, they just learned about Saiyans. They still know nothing about Saiyan biology or really anything about being Saiyans. And so this is their first time really just outright witnessing a Zenkai boost. And so Nappa now slightly stronger, but stronger than he's ever been. They ask him about the whole Zenkai boost. He explains Saiyan nature, explains that they always get stronger when fighting strong opponents, and they always grow immensely when pushed to the brink of death. With this knowledge in mind, the group gets on the ship and heads to Namek. Now, this will actually be a wonderful place for us to stop this episode. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and yeah, I guess next time we'll pick it up with Namek. Thank you guys so much for watching.